Yo, yo. What up? What up? Yo. What up? What up? Hey. Hey, welcome. Welcome to Benny's crib. What up? Yeah, just leave your shoes over there. It's cool. Yeah, thanks. Does that sound cool? Yo, what up? Welcome to Benny's crib. Hello, beautiful people. We are here in the crib in Portland, Maine, yet again for another interview, another discussion revolving around artists evolving out here in the 207. It's a pleasure to be here. We have a DJ, beatmaker, multi-instrumentalist, crewneck, sweatshirt, decorator, DJKTF. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Very well indeed. How about yourself?
I'm a little hungry, to be 100% honest, but I'm feeling focused. I'm feeling grateful.
Huh?
You had just mentioned the crew neck you're wearing is a Carl Sagan quote or little monologue that you paint. Is that paint?
It's silkscreen, but I diluted it so I could paint with it. So it can go, through the washing machine.
Oh, yeah, you don't want it to run.
Yeah.
But you made that.
Yep.
It's very cool. I wanted to start
thanks.
off by shouting that out because we had just been talking about it, and it felt like a natural segue. But this is a conversation that will be all about creation. Music of sorts. Hip-hop of sorts. First question we like to ask every guest here is, what is your first memory of hip-hop?
First memory of hip-hop as a culture or hip-hop as a music?
Anything. Like, I'd say probably a culture is probably what I was referencing, but really just when you think into the depths of your memories and you think about hip-hop, like what's the first, or I guess earliest thing you can think back to?
Yeah. I mean, I heard some electro stuff as like a real young kid, and that was, Africa Bambaataa was that whole branch.
Planet Rock?
Exactly. Wasn't super aware that it was, what to call that genre. But the first time I ever remember becoming distinctly aware of hip-hop as a thing was 92, 93. My family moved down to Arlington, Virginia, right outside of D.C. And it was, I'd lived my whole life in the woods in Maine, which was, incredible, delightful. And then, boom, I'm right there outside of Washington, D.C. And I already knew I loved the drums at that point. Like, I had heard drums. I was all about drums. I was like, that is the best thing ever. And so I was into either a lot of like Edgar Winter's Frankenstein, because it had a big long drum solo in it.
Yeah. Is he the cat that was the little albino?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So just drums to the max. And then moved down outside Washington, D.C. And there was a kid. He was like the hall monitor kid, but he was real cool.
Cool hall monitor.
It was
Isn't
weird.
that an oxymoron then?
It was.
I'm not hating the hall
no.
monitors, but
Well, that's the thing.
I got to brief with authority a little bit, allegedly.
Well, he was cool because he would let the small things slide.
Gosh.
He was not power tripping. He was there for our safety and well-being.
He was a man on the inside.
Yeah. So you knew, like, if you elbow your friend or whatever, he's not going to, call you out.
Gotcha.
So he was cool. But anyway, one day I'm standing there waiting for the, hall monitor dude to release my line for the bus or whatever. He goes, "Hey, you heard this?" And he takes out a cassette copy of Dr. Dre's The Chronic.
That's like right when it came out, probably too, right? Right around there.
He was like, "This is the hot newness," and I was like, "All right, I'll give it a listen." And I played it, and all I could think was, we had this neighbor Bob back in Maine who used to throw big wild parties, and he loved like Parliament Funkadelic. You could hear it across the street. You know, we got the real type of thing going down. So I put in the Chronic, and I'm like, this dude's just ripped off George Clinton. And so, like, it sounded really good, but I couldn't get over the old, you know, Atomic Dog thing. And, you know, I'm just a little kid, like 5th grade. And I'm just like, this, he's stealing. And,
Sampling.
yeah. But it left an impression on me. And then, let's see, the first time I remember being aware of hip hop as a culture and really wanted to participate, like I was so enamored with it, was probably when I was like 15. A friend got turntables, and he was more interested in beat mixing, but I was like, no, because I've been messing up turntables just like since I was a little kid, like the Fisher Price. Literally, I still have it somewhere. You know, with like my mom's Joan Baez or Dan Fogelberg. You know, no real wild cuts on that. Did have Herb Alpert rotation. So that was
Herb Alpert. Did he do the brass or no? What is it? The whipped cream cover? Is that him?
Yes, Whipped Cream Girl.
Yeah.
Peak of my collection.
What is that?
I had
shit?
14 Whipped Cream Girls.
It's like Dessert and Other Delights or some shit. What is
Whipped
that
Cream and
called?
Other Delights.
That's what it is, yeah.
Whipped Cream and Other Delights. Yep. That. So it was really funny because back in my friend group or whatever, I was the only one who cared about records, only one who had turntables, anything like that.
Really? Let's go back to this thing because you said you moved to Arlington area when you were like in 15 or so?
No, like 10.
Oh, 10. So
It was just for 1 year. And I was there for 1 year. And I just soaked up, like, oh, you go down the bike trail on the weekends and people are having cookouts, playing all sorts of different music. That's where my ridiculous love of lowrider cars started.
Sick. Wait, so was the hall monitor who tapped you into the G-Funk?
Yeah.
Was that in Maine?
No, he was down in DC.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm confused in a way. So I thought you moved there for a year, but you moved...
I was there for a year, like 10 to 11.
Oh, but then you picked up more...
Am I confusing my timeline?
Maybe I'm just confused. It doesn't really matter. Part of my brain is so fixated on being perfect and like formulating a flow, but you had been really introduced to part of like the hip hop culture down there, and then when you were up here,
it's when I realized, that I was like, oh, this
into
is cool.
All
Yeah,
right.
like it took me that long to warm up to sampling as an art form.
Gotcha. Oh, because you said when you were 15, your buddy had the decks, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah, he had
All
the
right,
turntables.
I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I want to talk about growing up in Maine if we can a little bit. You know, I think that's a huge part of the podcast is just kind of putting out a display of how many different creatives, you know, have grown up here in Maine. Because maybe I'm projecting from a place of, you know, more disgruntled youth. But when I was, you know, in my early 20s, late teens, I was so negative about like the depth of culture out here. I was like, oh man, it's very small, there's not a lot of shit out here, right? And then you start talking to people like, oh wow, like there's always been a lot of people out here who care about hip-hop and beats and DJing culture. It's just there's not a lot of mediums that broadcast it, so sometimes you can kind of feel like you're not tapped in and yada yada. That's why we do what we do here now, because there's a lot of motherfuckers who grew up in Maine that be loving to make music, man. So let's talk about your youth. When did you get that Fisher Price fake DJ setup thing?
It was just one turntable, but it was a real 12-inch.
Oh wait, so it wasn't fake. You actually.
It's Fisher Price record player. So it was like a for real record player
plastic?
made by Fisher Price. It was all plastic.
What?
Plastic arm that mounted these little Radio Shack needles in it, and then two speakers.
They weren't. The needles had to be metal though, right? They weren't plastic, were they?
They're real needles from Radio Shack, like that come on cheap turntables, and it did a good job.
I gotta Google that, man. I never.
It was beige, like
Fisher
beige on
Price?
beige.
They made their own turntable, bro.
Yeah, I always thought that was where the joke, the Fisher Price turntable, came from, and then I found out they had a toy turntable.
That's actually mind blowing, man.
I gotta find your picture of it now.
Yeah. Oh, I see it right now. Yeah, it's beige and it has a little yellow record on it.
Yup.
Dude, what? Yo, if you're watching this at home, if you're listening to this, just Google Fisher Price turntable. You're gonna have your mind blown because it kind of just looks like a toy. It doesn't look real.
There's my jam. $99 on eBay right now.
Wow, it's a flip. You still have it, you said, right?
Somewhere, yeah.
You got $99 sitting somewhere. By the time you find it, inflation will boost it up a little bit.
That's true.
Let's talk about music, though. Was there any music in your household growing up, or were any musicians in your family?
So, my late grandfather, he died before I was born, but he was a trumpeter with the Portland Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, that's cool.
As like a teenager, which is, I don't know if that's a reflection on his skill or what the orchestra was like in the 30s or whatever.
Yeah. Great Depression era.
Yeah.
I needed everybody.
Trumpeters hard to come by. I don't know.
Everybody.
Could have been. But music was always a huge part of my family's life.
And your parents had records. You had mentioned too, right?
tons of records. And I can remember like playing through my parents' records, and Electric Mayhem, the Muppets band.
Is that when Animal's the drummer?
Yep, Animal's the drummer. Dr. Teeth's on keys. He had this record, and it had a cut from them on the record, like called "Tenderly," and it starts off this real mellow song, and it goes into this wild energy song. And I was always asking him like what the different instruments were, what makes that kind of warbling sound in the background. He's like, that's the organ, and I was like, it doesn't sound like a church organ, and like. I mean, he didn't know how to say, it's a Hammond organ through a Leslie rotary speaker. Because, that was kind of, once I learned that, I realized the disconnect between how I wanted to know all this stuff versus how everybody else was really connected to it. So... anyway, yep. My dad was very musical. He played trumpet. He played piano. And I always kicked myself. He offered me the chance of piano lessons, and I was like, no, drums. I just want drums. And I do think that slowed me down a bunch in terms of getting the thoughts in my mind out.
I was going to say, is it more like a theory thing because you have like a representation of notes more easily on a piano, or?
A theory thing, and then so many instruments are translated into MIDI plugins or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just a great skill set to have, and it captures so many great sounds of the last like 50 years. Soulful Hammond organ, cool Hammond organ. Jimmy Smith, Billy Preston. I can go on to. Corey Henry, my goodness gracious. Anyway.
It's beautiful. So, evidently, whether your parents were listening,
I hope,
or certain people in your family were also participating in actually creating music. You've had a very musical background, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you spent your time doing when you were young, like any hobbies, anything else like that?
So I was born with three great loves: music, technology, and mechanics. And so those were, if it wasn't music, it was computers getting taken apart, put back together. If it wasn't that, it was mopeds, and then bigger bikes, and then Jeeps, and now
lowriders.
And now the lowrider. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
Maybe
by the time I'm dead, that'll be done.
You renovating one?
Yeah.
Or restoring one, I should say, right?
Resto mod, because it's bringing it back to life, but in a very different incarnation.
This motherfucking cat, podcast people. If you only all know the shit the cat does every time, go sit up there.
Nice pothos, by the way.
Thank you. I bought another plant thinking it was a pothos, and I don't think it actually was because it has since kind of died. There's like another one that's very similar to a pothos.
Gotcha.
I forget what it's called, because this podcast people were talking about a plant. This plant is very green and it's lush and you can tell it's thriving. Knock on wood. The other one I've treated the exact same way, put it in the exact same light, exact same watering schedule, shriveling up. What are you gonna do? There's another plant I can't remember. I think it starts with a P. Pothos, whatever.
Pepperomia.
Pecorino.
Pecorino. That's a cheese, isn't it? Pecorino Romano.
Poblano. Is that what it is?
Poblano's a pepper.
It's pepper. It's a pepper. Yeah. What's the little green peppers you get in those jars? You know what those are. Twigs. Pepperoncini?
Oh, the one. Yeah, the Papa John's one.
That's not what it is. I just
it's-
wanted to bring that up. Kind of confuse you.
Yeah, well, we succeeded. You succeeded.
You've been hands-on since day one of mobility, it sounds like, though. Music, gear, tech.
Yeah.
You just been in that shit.
Just, yeah, it felt right. It always felt right. And if, like, especially music and tech overlaps so much.
Definitely.
And the you know, the Venn diagram feels like it's always overlapping more.
Yeah, more and more every day, too. I mean, just so much of the
Yeah.
digital world involves music and technology as a whole. We're getting a good picture, DJKTF, of your youth. You went and left Maine for 1 year, heard some things on some tapes,
Heard
came
some
back to
things on some
Maine
tapes.
with some seeds in the garden. Would you say your friend getting his first official set of turntables was a huge catalyst for you?
I think the hugest catalyst, if I had to pick like one single turning point, was so I fell off a bridge in Virginia into a river that was.
While you were there, or like?
I went back to visit a couple of times. I was,
So this
I was like
isn't
16.
when you
I was
you
like
were
16.
living in Maine.
Living in Maine, went back to Virginia to visit friends.
Just to
there.
jump off the bridge?
No, I was
Okay.
riding a bicycle and I didn't pay attention and I rode it off of like a bike trail bridge, not like a highway overpass. But I still fell into this polluted river and messed up my arm, and so I got these like crazy infections and stuff. And I had to go to this doctor's office over and over and over. And one day I go to this doctor's office, and there's a pile of MacBook. What was it called? PowerBook 5300 CS Apple computers. From,
Those thick motherfuckers?
yeah, back when a color screen was like, $3,000. And they had a pile of them in the corner, and I'm like, what are those? And the doctor's like, oh yeah, we're upgrading and we're going to donate those to a school. And I was like, I go to school. And the doctor's like, I'll ask. And they go, this is like, my mom's like looking at me like, are you serious, kid? And comes back and he's like, we can't give it to you, but they'll sell it to you for $450. This is like a $3,000 laptop. I was like, I don't have $450, Mom, but I will like do whatever.
I'll mow some lawns.
Do whatever you. And my mom's like, all right, put that in the bank. Like your arm's really messed up.
You had gangrene, you said.
Pretty much. No, what do you call it?
Necrotizing fasciitis?
Non-necrotizing fasciitis.
That's
no.
flesh-eating disease.
But I was on some heavy-duty antibiotics for a while. That was a time, and I still have a metal plate in this arm too. Wow. Yeah.
Damn, see, I keep
But-
asking you
so I got
questions, and
the-
you're giving me auxiliary information that's like the foot in the door to
Well,
the
it's
more
so funny.
important.
It's a main storytelling style of being like, instead of answering the question, like, let me tell you,
It's good, though.
right after my relatives came here in 1843, and I do it all the time, and it's funny because we have some of the recent immigrant populations have that same thing where you ask a question, but because the cultural framing their cultural frames of reference are different from ours, like I keep thinking that, oh man, they tell a whole backstory, and then my wife looks at me and it's like, oh, how do you think you answer a question? And she'll be like, you start by giving directions by being like, well, old exit 8, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's not exit.
Answering a question is interesting, right? Like, I think about that all the time. Like, it's something I try and catch myself doing. It's like, I don't want to say we all do this, but a lot of people almost have to frame a question first by answering it internally themselves, and then not like projecting the information, but it's all like framing in a sense. I feel like you're framing your conceptualization and understanding of a topic, often tied to impulsivity, kind of like, oh, this is my first inclination, let me talk about this. Because now we've been on a tangent about, I just interrupted what you were saying because I wanted to say a joke about gangrene, and now we're talking about the deeper fabrics of how people are communicating and try and relate through the confines of probably translational
reality.
breakdowns. And I mean, then you can also talk about sensory reality. We both know that cup is red due to shared meaning, but we really, you know, it's there's a whole different plethora of psychological and metaphysical contextualizations playing.
How do I know you're picking up on the same nanometers I am when we say red?
It's weird. That's what I'm saying, yo. God damn.
Handy coincidences.
So you finessed the doctor and got that MacBook.
It wasn't even a PowerBook.
PowerBook.
Yep, and I brought it home and I got Sound Edit like 2 or whatever. It was on like 4 floppy disks. Installing that and trying to figure out how to make beats on it. And I'm like, all right, this is going to be like the snare drum sound. And I tap it out, and then you have to do math to figure out how long it is at what, where the beats fall at what tempo you're at in beats per minute. Like just real labor intensive weird stuff with not very good results.
And it's slow, isn't this shit? Kind of like really, really like
incredibly slow, and you get very low quality. Like you can only copy a limited amount at a time. Everything almost has to bounce down all the time. Yeah, it was very limited, but like it's still for that time. It was amazing.
Would you say you were more interested in the beat making side of things initially, or was DJing also like around at that time?
The DJing wasn't really till that friend got the turntables, and I was like,
is this kind of the same time period in your life?
A little bit later. A little bit later. Like I mean, I got the MacBook at PowerBook at 14, and then he got the turntables when I was 15. So
it's a pretty formative year.
Yeah, it was.
What year did you turn 15?
I don't remember.
You don't know what year you're born?
No, it's the math, bro. It's the math. 93 to 93. 83. You do the math.
83. You were born in 83.
Yeah.
So this is 1998.
Okay, that checks out. Yeah.
Wow, I was only 4 at this time, and you're in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, man, I don't know. I don't know why it's kind of blowing my mind. I thought it'd be a lot earlier for some reason. Not to say you look old or anything like that, but something about your energy is leaving me kind of stumped. You're a very interesting guest. You have a lot to say, but you kind of are. I don't know what the word would be. Not ambiguous, not aloof, but you have a very particular way of communicating. And I think it's almost. I wish, like, the podcast people could see the body language and smiles we have on our faces, because you could be hearing this and you'd be like, these guys are just talking about random ass shit right now. And it's like, sometimes I just meet a guest and I'm like, fuck, I really want to almost go like, not Eric Andre mode, but it's kind of fun to just stick around on wax for a while, you know? And kind of not throw away the important journalistic things we're doing here, but I could just literally go into a 1990s, what was Maine like as a teenager podcast for a whole friggin' hour.
Oh, it was wild.
Yeah.
It was a wild time. Wild. Like,
what made it wild?
Closing out Zoots. Real estate was like, you could rent like a 4-bedroom apartment for $700 on Munjoy Hill. Like, that's why people lived here, man.
The weirdos.
Yeah, weirdos top to bottom. And everybody had wild nicknames, and like there was one girl who lived above the Dirty Bird bar on 4th Street, and in this big vacant room.
What's the Dirty Bird now?
I don't know now. Something on 4th Street.
Restaurant 4th Street.
No, something.
It's on a corner.
It was just on that row of 4th Street bars. I think of them as.
Like Gritty's and shit.
Yeah, Gritty's on to the right if you're looking down Exchange.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, man. Let's get these dots connected. DJing and beat making both come into your life at a pretty similar time.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have an initial draw to one of those in a more captivating fashion, or was your interest pretty balanced between the two?
So beat making was an extension of like the musical impulse. So like that was kind of always there. And the DJing, it was weird because it scratched that like percussion itch, but added the ability to play around with like other people's songs as textures or whatever. And I found the challenge of like beat matching and getting everything lined up in a pleasant way, acoustically. It was fun.
This is late 90s too, so are you using just actual like LPs? It's not like digital?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I was the only friend, I think I said this earlier, I was the only one in my friend group who was into records, so all my friends' parents gave me their record collections.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I ended up with, at my peak, 14 copies of Whipped Cream and Other Delights.
All the old people were just giving you them.
All the record collections, and they all owned it.
Because that was a huge record in the 60s, whenever that came out. I forget.
I don't remember what year it came out.
Even before you were like,
Oh, yeah. They just had it in their collections. That's why it's my friends' parents' collections. Yeah. But they also had, Queen, Yes, all sorts of wild stuff in there. So I would be like, it's not the first place I would go for samples. You know what I mean? And so it could be a little tricky, digging through that kind of stuff, but it was fun. It was like, I liked the challenge.
Yeah. Back when you were probably in your late teens, early 20s, were you pretty active out here on
so
the word
late
scene,
teens,
I guess, comes
late
to
teens I was, early 20s I was mostly, thank you so much, up in Orono.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When did Zoots close, man? I'm trying to think.
98, 99.
So you were at the end
I was
of
like,
Zoots.
like the summer I started going out was the last summer they were open.
Was a all ages chem free place? Was that what Zoots was?
No, by that time it was all ages, like after 2 a.m. or something like that.
After 2 a.m.
It was, This is pre-Metropolis.
Wow. What do you mean? Break that down.
Now I'm gonna get there's so many dates and so much controversy.
Like Fritz Lang. What's Metropolis?
Metropolis was a nightclub on Marginal Way.
I thought you meant like the Fritz Lang German silent film Metropolis, and you're making some analogy about how like the corporatization and technocracy of like oligarchical America.
That is absolutely plausible with me. But in fact, no, it was just a nightclub on Marginal Way.
All right, break it down then. I need like historical shit. When you were like a late teen, trying to sneak out, have some fun, late 90s, what the hell was popping out here, man? I know Zoots for show is one thing, but what else was going on?
Got you. Oh, it was house parties. It was all the best house parties.
So it was so cheap out here to live, right?
Mm-hmm. Cumberland Ave. We had friends who had the whole building, and so no noise complaints. You get the whole
and
building.
Just are they like in their early 20s renting or some shit?
Some of them were early 20s. Like a couple. There was, one person was 30, another person was like 50. But like, it was a weird. Yeah, it was a weird mix of people that worked really well. And, that was, and Portland had its problems back then, certainly. But it was really, idyllic, creative, crazy time. There were always turntables at the parties.
Did you live out like in Portland?
So I lived in Falmouth.
Falmouth, got you.
Yep, on the family farm.
Whoa.
And what?
You got a family farm. That's what I mean. I'm talking to you about shit, and you're like, yeah, we had a family farm. Now I want to talk about the farm for like a whole bunch of tangents, man.
Oh, wistful. He wistfully said about the farm.
So, timeline. Maine or your whole life. Virginia for 1 year.
1 year. Go, take a break.
You come, then you go back to the family farm.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go get gangrene off that bridge.
Yep.
Kind of change your life a little bit in some sense, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Then you go back to Maine after your Tour de France down there on the bicycle. And then you're kind of just out here as a youngin' in May.
Mm-hmm.
What made you go up to Orono? Were you in college or what was it?
Yeah, it was for school. Because, that was the other thing is I never thought music would be a possible career. Like, I was going to give it a great shot, but, I'm not an all my eggs in one basket kind of person.
Even back like then when you were just making, beats and playing around on turntables, it doesn't sound like it was like a ambition to make it like
I would have loved to have like released something, or I played in a couple bands that cut demos and things like that, drums. But yeah, it was always like a super passionate hobby.
What made you go into kind of more than like academic mode? Like, was there any like certain passions you had that were outside of music that were calling you to do that, or?
No, it was just like, it was back in the old days when the mythology of, well, you just go to college and then you get a good job was so dominant.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, all right.
It still kind of made sense back then too.
I'll go for it, I guess. Like they gave me some scholarship money and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, if you really want me there too, okay. And it was, it wasn't a good fit and I wasn't ready for it. But I did get some great DJing in up there.
Yeah, I was going to then say, did you translate any of your music or musical hobbies into your collegiate time? Like, were you making beats up there? Were you DJing? 'Cause DJing's probably more of like a social thing, I imagine, at that time.
Yeah.
Be able to be a part of like, gatherings and shit.
It was super fun. So I did, because everything was still vinyl records. There were no digital vinyl systems, and I didn't have CDJs, and so like I wanted to own the records I wanted to listen to, and so that made the pool of records that I had to play from maybe not the best fit for every function, and so it wasn't like so I did get very briefly, there was a club up there called Ushuaia, and they had an Eastern Acoustic Works sound system, which is like the people who did Avalon in Boston for sound.
That's a venue in Boston.
Yeah,
People don't know.
and just top shelf sound system. And I wanted to be a hip hop DJ there because you could play from their library.
The one in Bangor, you said?
Orono, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
right,
excuse me.
Right off campus in Orono. And somebody asked for, I forget what it was. Might have been Nelly, It's Getting Hot in Here or something like that.
So this is like right around the early 2000s then, when you were up there.
Yeah. And I just said, oh, I'm sorry, that one's in the basement. And like, because I didn't want to play it. Like, I was a dick. And I was like, I'm the DJ, I know it's right. And
I want to play what I want to play.
yeah, so I was just, but I didn't want to be a dick about it. So I was just like, sorry, that one's in the basement. I got back to the owner, and he was like, yeah, well, I don't think we need your services anymore.
Damn.
So it lasted like 2 weekends or something.
But you still were out there. You were trying.
Yeah. Well, then they do dance music nights there. I love drum and bass.
Oh,
Again,
yeah.
going back to the drum.
Jungle.
Yep. Jungle, or I forget what they call
Garage?
LTJ Bookham's subgenre.
I'm not tapped in.
The cooled out drum and bass. There's a name for it. I can't remember.
It's okay. Damn, man. It's very interesting to think about the cusp of the 21st century. CDJs are around, but it's probably a pretty large financial gap, I imagine. You'll get off.
Yeah, well, turntables, $400. A CDJ, $1,000. You could buy a pair of turntables for one CDJ cost.
Wait, one CDJ was 1,000?
Mm-hmm.
What was a double setup?
I mean, $2,000, and that's $2,000 like 2,000
Plus
dollars.
the deck in the middle too, or like
yeah. If you wanted to get that Pioneer DJM that everybody had, that was another $1,500, $1,800 maybe. If you wanted the DJM 600,
you're looking at close to $4,000 for a solid.
For the club level setup.
Holy
to play
shit.
To play CDs.
4,000 in 2000 and what? 2002.
I mean, not quite 4,000, but yeah,
right around. Yeah, because you
bucks,
probably get it, if you buy it all together, you probably get a price reduction. But still, I mean, you can get a Pioneer, probably for under 1,000 now. That's very capable of doing a lot of shit, I imagine. I'm just trying to think of the last time I really was looking at. I mean, there's the controller and turntable actual like market is so dense and deep that sometimes I'm like almost overwhelmed looking at it because I'm like, holy shit, like I only really know like Newmark and Pioneer pretty much, but it goes deeper than that, obviously.
Oh my goodness, I'm a Rain fanboy. Well, I know they've sold to in-music brands and now they're kind of like their products still seem good, but back before they sold to in-music, who owns everybody as near as I can tell, they got Akai, they got Rain, they got, I forget who else, but that's all. That's everybody to me. Akai and Rain, and Vestax is out of business. That's everybody. No, but I went out. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was going to meet her parents for the first time, and I legit their house was 15 minutes from the Rain factory in Everett, Washington, and I legit like packed up my DJ mixer, and I'm like, I'm going on a pilgrimage, and my girlfriend's like, you do you, and that's probably 40%, if I'm honest, of how she became my wife. I was like, okay, if you can deal with this weird, you will come tour this DJ products factory with me, and you will feign interest. And every time I point to a thing, and you go, oh, that's DJ, Grandmaster Flash or whatever. Like, yeah, I'm sure, honey. Let's keep walking. Yeah. But no, it was wild, and they gave me a bunch of random swag, and I was just like, and they reconditioned my mixer, $100. They took the mixer, replaced all the potentiometers, all the twisties, lubricated the faders, checked all the jacks, and solder joint. It was awesome. And I called not that long ago to see if they still had that service, because I was going to get all three of my Rains done if they did, and they're like, this is a service department, I don't know what you're talking about.
Wow.
And yeah, so that was a disappointment. Damn.
You got a very interesting story here, man. So even in a time where like
you're gonna have to edit so much out.
No, this thing is
so rambling.
We don't
really
pointless. Edit. I'm gonna keep this pretty much almost exactly bare bones, to be straight. But,
Perfect. Keep that what's going on energy.
But it's important to me too, because I think one thing I don't really love about modern podcast culture is like, I don't know if this is a word, but the prodification of conversation. Like so much of conversation is pauses. Like we just met each other an hour ago, so our nonverbal communication aspects are still kind of starting to understand each other as well, and we're doing it on camera too. That's another thing that's kind of wild. People meet me, I meet them, and we just jump on 3 cameras right off the bat and start talking about the depths of our lives and our minds and our creative spirits, yada yada. And there's going to be some kind of hiccups sometimes. There's going to be some pauses, just like that.
Pause.
There's going to be just the nuances of conversation. And one thing I think that people forget about is you can have a good production value. You got to have lights, you got to have cameras, but if you listening to some shit and it just sounds like 2 people like reading ads the whole time and like, this is my opinion. Oh, great. This is my opinion. No, like, non sequiturs, no tangents, no weird gaps, no odd transitions in the speech. Like, long story short, I don't mind if you have any quirks or pauses in your vernacular, so to speak. Because what my point was just thinking was, it's so interesting that I don't want to say you're like purist or like preserving like the traditional way of things, but at this time where there's like a lot of technology blowing up, and as someone who's very interested in technology, it sounds like you were really not like confined, but you kind of just had to deal with what you could afford, it sounds like, and what was around. And it's interesting to think about, again, like you being like, I'm going to play whatever records I want to play at this college bar, and people are like, hey, can you play Nelly? Hey, can you play Sean Paul? Hey, can you play whatever's popping at the time? And you're like, yo, I got my records, man, like, back off. I respect that, because I think so much of DJing is kind of lost today, where people don't remember the Grandmaster Flashes. Like, you really only had LPs and turntables, and as you know, that's all you could really produce. Now you got friggin' Serato stems. You can.
Oh, I know.
It's like the shit you can do these days is.
Like, oh, I wish that vocal didn't come in at that point in the sample. Well, now it doesn't.
And it's like instantly. And you remember, I think what makes me so interested in talking to you is that I'm from that like Windows 98 era. I'm from the floppy disk era. Like I remember having to wait an hour. Like you'd be like, oh, it's 6 o'clock. If I want to go on the computer at 7, I probably should turn on my computer right now and get things like warmed up. Honestly, like that's kind of what it was back then.
Yeah,
And you seem to be from that same cloth, and you were even older than me, more probably like hands-on with the tech back then.
It was fun.
It's I don't know. It's just it is fun, man.
Because like the old cars you can work on them. That's why the prices are going up, is because if people want to customize something, customizing a modern vehicle.
It's impossible to do shit on new cars.
It's as much a software operation as anything. And so all of these older platforms, Panther platform from Ford, the G body from GM, the prices are just wild because people want those frames.
Supply and demand.
Exactly. So they can do their thing. And computers headed the same way. It used to be, I replaced the screen on my MacBook after a speaker mysteriously fell on it at the ALS basketball tournament in Deering Oaks Park in 2008.
How much was it?
$900 for the screen. I just paid $1,800 for the laptop like 2 weeks before.
Damn.
That was brutal, but I could do it. Now all of those assemblies are like one piece.
You probably need to buy a whole new laptop if your screen gets broken.
It's cooked. Like nothing's, fixable. There are a couple of products out there like modular laptops.
Alienware.
Alienware. They make it.
Yeah, I don't know. I always remember them growing up. It was like Alienware was like the third party to the.
The
larger models.
Oh man.
I want to keep talking about the music side of your creative spirit because there's other questions I have too.
Okay.
And when did you move back down here?
So, let me think about that. 2003, I left there and came back down here.
Did you graduate?
Working at nope. Nope. No. I was working at Bull Moose.
Oh, sweet.
I worked at Bull Moose up in Bangor, and then they opened their new Scarborough warehouse. Like you couldn't get a job in the Portland Middle Street store, like for anything.
Yeah.
That crew had it on lock. But when they opened the Scarborough store, I raised my hand. I was like, yeah, I'll commute to Scarborough, whatever.
The warehouse. So you were there for the opening of the warehouse?
Yeah.
David and I, Willow Pix, met working at Bull Moose Mill Creek.
No
so
joke.
We're Bull Moose alumni too.
No joke.
Yeah,
Bull Moose Mill Creek. You didn't hear it from me, but people have found great records over there.
There's some good shit over there. I just allegedly was gifted some amazing tapes like that were cheap as hell. Like Spike Lee, She's Gotta Have It, original soundtrack tape. Sade, De La Soul. They're right here. I'll show you.
That's awesome.
But damn, is this what I mean, man? I'm talking to you. I have one thing in my mind I want to say, and then you're like, I was there when the warehouse opened at Willow. So now I'm like, well, I gotta kind of ask you about that. What was it like? Like, were you working like the first shifts of that place?
Not the first shifts because they had people who knew what they were doing that came in for the first shifts.
Who did you? I actually never. I'm not gonna. We're not gonna drop names because I could get into a whole thing. But there's some guy who has a huge cigarette fixation I'm thinking of, and I wonder if he was there. But I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you off camera about that. I don't want to be dropping people's names and shit. Gotcha. I can't bring Bull Moose lore into the
it's its own type of lore. So check this out, man. Small world syndrome. My cousin, who built the first electric guitar I ever had, he played in a band with Brett Wickard. And some people say Chris Brown. I don't know if Chris Brown was in the band or not. I've heard both.
He probably said he wasn't. He wasn't in the band.
No, I've never known Chris Brown to be anything but a stand-up human being. But yeah. And then I ended up working at the record store.
That's wild, man. So you're back here in Maine. You left college. Were you making beats? Were you still DJing out here at this time?
When I left college, I was in a group called Mr. Blue and the Family Tree. And I was doing cuts and samples and stuff. We had Mr. Blue from MDI.
Mount Desert Island.
Yeah. He has the liquor locker up there.
What's that?
It's the liquor store.
That's what I mean. I want to go on a tangent now, but keep going.
But
keep going.
He did the rhyming. We had AMC on drums, Lex Jones on guitar, Stu Mahan on bass, the inimitable Nigel Hall on keys and doing some like choruses and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I got everybody. Oh, and Adam Rennie did a lot of engineering and recording and live stuff for us.
And you were scratching.
And I was scratching. Yep. And that I got a I can't remember. I think it was the DZ1200. Techniques came out with a big CD player that was like almost turntable sized. And I was like, perfect. I love turntables. Let me get this thing and I can play my CDs and it'll be good. And it had such a digital, glitchy sound that just, after using vinyl on turntables for so long, it was just like thumbs down. I couldn't deal.
Yeah.
And so, so I went back to analog until I tried Final Scratch. I don't know if you remember that one.
No.
Final Scratch. That was like the first one that people said the computers could keep up with. And that still wasn't good enough. Like you couldn't cut on it. And then Rain and Serato teamed up for the Serato Scratch. And that finally gave me the vinyl feel. And from there, I like totally sold out. I was like, I will do your wedding, whatever. Give me money.
You don't have to bring crates of records everywhere, right?
That was just it. Saved my back, saved my bank account.
Saved your life.
I don't know about that.
I'm just saying. I mean,
certainly, certainly, it was good having that skill set, especially through the rest of my education, finishing up school and stuff. I could always find parties to play, always find, weddings in the summer, that type of thing.
And your ear was trained from like a more hands-on physical era too, so you kind of got your understanding of imagining blends.
Well, and that was the thing is, a lot of people really like the style because it would, I would always beat match. I would always make sure the next song dropped, dropped on the one, and so people would just keep on dancing. Because I did a lot of house, trance, mixing, not so much techno, but whatever was before EDM, all the genres. I loved deep house, Sasha and Digweed, and so like that demands a lot of care and how you beat match. You got to really keep tight on it. And so when I come into hip hop, you just need to be close, and then you need to be convincing, and you need to sell that mix, and that confidence more than like waiting 30 seconds for everything to come together. Was the skill that I had to develop. Yeah. But it was fun to develop, and I had some really fun parties all over, just from being able to have my whole music library digital, and then I would digitize my records even, just so I didn't have to carry them around or wear them out.
Yeah. That's when you have to actually play the whole record though and rip it onto the computer, right?
Yeah, 1-to-1. You just sit there.
And you can't just drag it. You have to like literally listen to the whole thing.
Yep. Yep. And you clean it real good first too.
Oh yeah, because any audio,
any dust or whatever, that's there forever.
One theme that I talked about with some fellow creatives out here are the physical limitations that digital media have to go through. Kind of like, if you're filming on a GoPro and the GoPro battery gets too hot and it shuts off the GoPro. You're obviously filming a digital thing right there, but the physicality of the device causes, kind of like the digital thing to get malformed. There's a lot of going on with what you're talking about too, honestly. The digital and the analog are intermingling, I feel like, not only like in a sense of praxis, but also just like you're seeing a huge shift, I think, of not even just DJ culture, but I feel like at that time period, a lot of stuff's going digital, if I can say that, because I wasn't really there, but...
Yeah, no, it's a fair characterization, and digital was, the promised land. It was going to be the level playing field and, democratize information and information superhighway and,
Y2K.
Steve Wozniak's going to buy everybody a computer because he's good Steve.
Who's that?
Good Steve?
Steve Wozniak, that sounds mad familiar.
So, Tale of Two Steves. Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak.
They both Apple?
They started a little company called Apple.
In the garage.
Yeah, but there's Steve Wozniak, who's I don't know, I would say an outstanding, human being in terms of how he's trying to do things. And then you have Steve Jobs, who I have many disagreements with how he did things.
He's dead.
Yeah. Well.
He didn't go to his doctors and he just ate like compost, I think, and then he died, right? Is that kind of bad taste? That's kind of what happened though, right?
That's poor taste, but...
That's probably what he said when he was eating the compost, bro.
Oh my goodness.
I told you, man, we in a weird mood tonight. I was telling Twigs that before the podcast, I'm like, I might just start saying shit tonight, but... So
before I came out here, I literally was texting Jay, Karen, and Chan, and I was like, I gotta warn Benny, this is gonna be his weirdest one he's ever done. And they're just like, no, he must have had somebody weirder. And honestly, I don't know at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you're weird. You're just... Because I think weird is an ambiguous word. You have a very conversational demeanor, but in the same time, I feel like you can bring up tangents and go on a certain... We can just go on a certain path I wasn't expecting. Paths I was expecting to talk about. Like, for just to contextualize, I was like, all right... It's not a lot of like projects you put out. I don't think, have you ever put out like a beat tape or anything? Yeah.
Nothing. No.
So a lot of my like interviewing is going through artistic catalogs, watching and listening, especially for like changes in the music, the artistry, just who you are like as a creator. When I don't have tangible physical things like that to compare to, sometimes I'm like, oh, how am I going to stretch this out? We're like probably 50% through my questions. We've been talking for 52 minutes. Because we've been talking about gangrene and I've been making bad taste jokes about Steve Jobs and you're talking about the liquor locker on Mount Desert Island. I'm very intrigued by most of what we're saying. I want to snap back here into some sense of timeline tightness, though. What was the area like when you returned here after college? Did it have a similar vibe or was it starting to change a little bit?
It was starting to change a very little bit. Like... some of our friends from Munjoy Hill actually like had grown up jobs and stuff and would like buy the place they lived in.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, I didn't know, so-and-so had money like that. And be like, oh yeah, they got a computer job. It was just weird things like that. But it didn't seem like a trend. Everything seemed, possible. And then like the White Hart, I remember, opened up. And that was like the spot for a long time.
Where was that? What was that?
It was a bar on the corner of, not Casco Street, but somewhere over around there. There were just a lot of different artists coming through there. A lot of DJ nights happening there.
And were you doing some sets there too?
I did a few, but I wasn't like I wouldn't say I was a regular there. I was a regular at a bunch of the Wharf Street bars. Tom Manning had them. Cake, Cactus Club. Jeez, I'm feeling old.
North Star Cafe.
North Star
Was
Cafe
that
was
a thing?
not there.
Damn.
Didn't they just close?
I don't know. I remember someone mentioned that a while back. But it sounds like you were active in the DJ community out here.
Yeah, no, I did a bunch, and then I would say really getting plugged in was when I hooked up with the Rap Night guys.
I was gonna actually then kind of segue like into.
Yeah.
Were you making beats at the time, or were you linking with hip hop people at this time too? Because I know Rap Night. This is like a pretty tight.
So
time.
there was a while where we blew in the family tree. We were all commuting to keep that band going for a while. So that never died, and then I did a bunch of work. Mr. Blue and AMC, the drummer, split off and added another MC, Jim Thorpe, and became a group called Green Tank. And so I've done different stuff with Green Tank over the years. Oh man, what was I talking about again?
Just your connection to the hip hop scene at that time, in
yeah.
like the mid 2000s or so.
Yep, and then Rap Night came calling. And I don't know how Shoop, I literally don't remember how we connected, but I think it was, hey, somebody said, you have turntables. We don't have anyone for Rap Night on this night. Are you willing to come in and do it? I was like, oh, yeah, Rap Night. I would love to come be a part of that. And so packed up my turntables. I'm like, I'm going to Rap Night. This is great. They have a thing every week. And it was great. It was fun to get plugged into that community, meet all those people. I met Jay Karen through Rap Night. I can remember Chan coming out for like the first time.
He must have been pretty young too,
with,
right?
Like the Machine. Yeah, I was talking to him about it the other day. He said he would have been 21, and I was like, oh, I'm old. Yeah, it was just a great vibe, because you could be serious about your art and serious about your creativity, but also, know where the boundaries are, and still have a fun time and not be, because one person's doing art and one person's doing jokes, or one person's doing, whatever. Everybody, got along, let's say, at least enough to get through a Rap Night every week, like, with smiles on faces, more or less.
Yeah, I mean, because it was once a week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, to think about. In a place as small as Portland, so many people who are maybe more from like the 2000s-ish era of getting into music out here, specifically hip-hop, rap, DJing. Rap Night is a perpetual staple of conversation. It's always like, yeah, Rap Night. Everyone was at Rap Night. And it sucks for me because, like, I mean, no disrespect, but the only Rap Night I know is the one in Manchester, I believe, now that they do in New Hampshire. And I'm sure that's a great part of their community, but I'm like, damn, I kind of missed out, bro. Like, just to know that every single week you could have national acts sometimes do it pull out the Rap Night, right?
I get to open DJing for R.A. the Rugged Man. Who else was some of the fun?
And at the height of a lot of these cats, like notoriety in the underground too, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was super fun. We got to see the X-Men came to Portland. That was super cool. It was like Port City Music Hall.
R.I.P.
8 feet away from Rock Rada. And that was wild. Yeah, it was great having a staple and a venue like that at that size, because now they've got auras there. It's too big for something like that,
It is too big for that.
And then Flask, Flask is awesome. Flask is great, but it would be even better if there were two Flasks like next to each other.
Yeah,
and they could.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
It's hard too. I mean, it's just a bottleneck too. Like, shout out Stereo Dreams by Graphic Melee. I do appreciate what he does at the Afodian every first Wednesday, but he puts in work, and like.
It's funny you should mention that, because I just played there. First time I've ever played out my own solo material.
Beats.
Like anything, Yeah.
Oh, like
And
mixes too, yeah.
Yeah. And well, like mixes happen in the moment. Like all my writing and everything
You're
that's out there,
instrumentalist, too.
all my writing and everything that's out there, has been in collaboration with others. So this is my first, and all my performances have been in collaboration with others, or DJing the work of others. So this is like pure original, start to finish, first time, and that was such a fun night, and the energy of the open aux was just wild. I loved it. And I had been in a real like flat point for music. I know you want history and stuff, but
no, so you give a good amount of history.
A real flat point with music, especially since COVID. Like the only thing that I was doing for that whole time is I play accessory percussion in a progressive Latin metal band called Manuel, and that was it. That was my sole project. Everything else was just furiously making beats, at home. And when he just DM'd me one day. I was like, "You have any interest?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, all right, I'll do this." And just it was such a great night that it spawned all these other like creative endeavors and reaching back out to people and things like that, that had that had fallen off with just time and COVID restrictions and momentum and all that.
The way it goes, man. Shout out Graphic Melee. Shout out Stereo Dreams. Talk on your process as like a producer, as a beat maker. Do you have a certain like favorite gear you use or like software?
Yeah. So my go-to, and my attentions are split right now. If I want to make music now, I go for the new Akai MPCs. I have the what is it? The Mark II. Oh my goodness gracious! It's the MPC-1, MPC Live 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. So I have the MPC Live 2. It's got all, as somebody who worked on, a 3000, 4000 Studio D, thinking of like the memory capacity of these and the computing capacity of these, I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I'll never need another sampler is what I think to myself.
You were using 4 floppy disks just to make one beat at a time.
It was bad. At one point, I had a little Boss sampler that had 16 seconds memory. That was it.
Wait, for the whole sampler?
The whole sampler. So, you could put 16 1-second drums.
That's gotta get repetitive after a while.
Yeah, you had to really want it.
Damn, man.
But yeah. So that Akai MPC Live 2 is just an incredible little machine. I don't even need to find my headphones or the power cord. I can literally just be like, boom, and just start. If I have something that needs to get out.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll sit down. It can take direct turntable input, and I will just sample to the SD card.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, do you sample like from your collection?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Sample right to the SD card and just build up a huge backlog, and then when I'm in a mood, bring the sampler out and
just
start going through, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work.
It's like some kitchen shit. You get all the ingredients, you prep them, and then when it's time to cook, you got them ready to go.
I'm my own sous chef. But yeah, that's my favorite sample-based process. Other times, something will really come to me on a particular instrument, and then I'll use like Logic. But my workflow, I've been liking the MPC so much that I will play my idea into Logic, sample, or oftentimes even just export it direct. It's not even sampled. I'm like, digital export right to the MPC. So,
You mean from like an instrument you're playing?
Yeah. So I'll get the whole mix in Logic and then dump it like a sample, like I'm sampling myself off a record,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I can chop it up and do it that way. And
You don't got to worry about clearing any of that shit.
yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Or it's, sometimes it's more like hybrid. There are great synth sounds and keyboard sounds in the MPC. So I got one of those little, like 25 key things, so I can, do my little chords and then do a bass line. That's definitely a go-to. And Logic for the acoustic instruments and longer arrangements. Vocal parts, I like to track, MPC in, and then put the vocals on top, and then do some sort of like final compression or effects or whatever on the mix.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the big ones. That and Talk Box. Oh my goodness.
What's talk? Oh, like the Peter
Like
Frampton
Zapp
thing?
and yeah, or Roger Troutman.
Troutman. What's he in?
Zapp and Roger. Bounce.
Yeah, I always think of no, it's escaping me. Move on. I don't want to have too much dead air.
California Love.
That's a good one too. Yeah, I was
That's
definitely
just-
thinking more in that realm of music.
I think they got him. Or Cool G. I mean,
California Love.
Cool G Rap. All of My Life.
Is that the straw thing?
Yeah, it's like a tube to a special speaker.
That shit freaks me out. That's like some like frequency manipulation beyond human.
No, it's basically just pumping the moving air in and shaping it like you would when you pump it out
Oh, it's just so
through
cool,
your voice
man.
box.
It's just
so
so.
you just fire it right in there and shape it like you would any other word. The only thing that it doesn't do is, because it's just the tone, is you got to make all your P's and B's. So if you hear somebody do it without the talk box, it's, all you hear is, the P's and B's, the plosives, because it provides all the vowel sounds. But it's so fun and so expressive.
Are there any producers or beat makers or like artists that have inspired you or inspire you in that process? You could say no too. Some people be like, "Nah, I just do it for me."
Well, that's the thing, is I do it for me, but I stand on the shoulders of giants. Like, my goodness gracious. I mean, probably everybody, whoever sits in the seat, touches a sampler, says Jay Dilla, of course. His time feel just changed everything. Because, like, before that, I could tell Quantize was just sucking the life out of stuff. But it's like I wasn't willing to do enough takes to realize what is possible if you let that groove breathe.
Yeah, that's a great word.
And AMC, the drummer from Mr. Bloom and the Family Tree, he understood that. It was one of the things that made him such an extraordinary drummer, with so much pocket, was like, the air in his time feel is the only way I can kind of describe it.
No,
It's
I
just,
feel you. It's different. It's like you're hearing a different. Sometimes it's like it's a
it
window.
breathes. The whole thing breathes. Like, you can watch his foot, and the hi-hat will be shut, but he'll be flexing on it, and the pitch will just modulate up and down a little bit, and just like these touches that it's nothing is an accident. Everything contributes to the whole. And if you had one hi-hat sample going identically every time, you're not gonna that's lost. That creative expression is lost.
Jay Dilla too rewards active ears when you're really like, oh, wait, what was that? I thought I was getting used to those 4 bars, but that's not a loop. That like there's clearly a different kick right there or something. For instance, it's just I think a timeless answer to inspiration, because it does feel like he really changed beat making culture, producing culture, like pre and post Dilla. It definitely feels like a thing, honestly, man.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Jay Dilla. I will never slander Jay Dilla like I slandered Steve Jobs earlier. DJKTF, we've been talking for 70 minutes. Let's get to the present here. You down for that a little bit?
Sure.
But I appreciate my cat's eating dirt. Stop eating dirt. I appreciate the very...
Oh, I can check. I got a AI assistant who can tell me if your plant's toxic for pets.
This one might be mildly toxic. I don't think it's too bad.
I'm just messing with you.
All right, good. I was gonna say we don't need that.
I'm just messing with you.
That's what I mean. That I was gonna say you have like this enigmatic. Is that the word? Like meaning deriving from enigma.
Yeah.
In a sense, you're very talkative. You're very social, but you're also kind of like I said. You're a little aloof. You're almost like at arm's reach, but you're not gonna get too close. And you'll be talking about Zoots 1 minute, and then the next it's gangrene bike story, and then the next it's the plethora of records you've been gifted. And I really appreciate the all the stitches in the quilt that has gotten you today.
That's a good way of putting it. It's a quilt. It's a quilt.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous, raggedy quilt, but it's mine.
Maybe a filthy quilt.
Now we're really fast forwarding to the present.
Yeah, we're going. I mean, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but do you think I have some kind of random questions that, and you actually I literally say, can you speak on Mr. Blue and the Family Tree? Do you also play in a band? I had some questions you've already actually touched on, so I do appreciate that.
I did ramble my way around.
You know what it is? It's non-linear. I try and but a linear flow to the story. I think helps the listener a lot sometimes because we're really like A to B to C to D, you know. But this has kind of been in its own time pocket, I guess. Yeah, it's A to
G to
three
G
to three to G to Greek symbols back to B. But I don't want to skip anything in your story necessarily, but it sounds like, if I could paraphrase it, you're just someone who's been very active in music, but especially like not just the sonic side of it, like the gear side, the physical side, and also that correlates to other passions in your life, whether it's fixing up Jeeps, fixing up...
Oh, you've seen the Jeeps?
Yeah.
Did you find the one that catches on fire?
No.
Okay, cool.
All right,
it's out there.
We'll have to get into that again too, but before we talk about Filthy Records, is there anything from your time here in Maine you think I didn't touch on that's important? We have been all over the place too, so no pressure.
Yeah, no, we got the late 90s era, which was wild. We got the early vestiges of what Portland is now era, which was fun and had some good, bigger venues. And, now there's like nobody lives in Portland anymore. Kind of everybody ended up getting either priced out or, finding a house 20 minutes away, 30 minutes away. Asylum obviously became Aura. Port City Music Hall is gone.
Big Easy's that stupid ass fucking sports betting bar. I will have no problem slandering that.
That was a bad time. I actually, I had my main wedding reception at Portland House of Music when Ken Bell had it. I know there's some people who, had their differences with him, and, I'll respect that, but everything I knew of Ken, he was a stand-up guy, and he did a lot for a lot of musicians. Yeah.
We've done it again.
Mm-mm.
The tangent thing is what I'm saying. Cause I was asking you, is there anything we're missing?
Did I mention I have a very pronounced attention deficit disorder?
That's okay.
And usually I'm pretty good at keeping it in line, but now you're asking me personal questions and I have to answer with what's in my mind.
You're on the spot. I'd rather have you just shoot out whatever is cognitively relatable than force anything else, to be honest.
It's not cognitively relatable, though. That's the problem.
To you it is.
Well, perhaps. Filthy, though. Filthy, I'm so excited.
But we didn't skip anything, right?
Oh, probably, but that's okay.
Well, you can come back to it if it pops in your head, because I have some other questions.
I've had no problem transgressing the timeline thus far, so I don't think I'm about to change.
This might die soon.
Even your computer's sick of hearing me talk.
Uh-oh. Hey, Twigs, I might need you to help a brother plug this in. I don't really love the new MacBook chargers because they're so easy to detach in the middle.
Is this a USB-C one?
The USB-C plug-in is, thank you, Twigs, is great, but it also has its hindrances.
Yeah.
Linear fashion is outdated. Maybe it's this post-Lynch passing physical world where I don't really care about linear time anymore, but past, present, future all happen at once in the spiral of life, whatever it is, in the circle of life. We're going to get here in the now. We've had a lot of great past ripples, but DJKTF, Goddamn Chan, and J. Karen have launched Filthy Records. When did this idea conceptualize?
So, I was talking about Stereo Dreams earlier and how it really inspired me to want to do something musical. But I knew it would have to be something that I wasn't, having to be out on a weeknight, like pounding the pavement. I've got, I got a lot of other responsibilities and things, and I need to be like realistic. And I was thinking, you know what, like a record label is a great way to support music, support a scene, and help artists get remuneration.
What does that word mean?
Money for their work. And so, that idea kind of bubbled up, and I actually, because I liked Stereo Dream so much, I've thought of Graph, and he's like, not right now. It's not something he was looking to do, and which I can totally respect because it's been a huge bunch of work. And then I was like, you know what? I know Chan. He seems like he might be into something like this, and I know he's seen the business before, and so I reached out to him, and he's like, oh, Jay and I have been talking about this for like 2 years. Maybe this is the time to finally do it. So we all sat down and got together and talked about, the vision and the purpose. And, it's tied to the modern streaming model, 3 quintillionths of a penny for whatever mystery number of mystery things happen within inside the mystery box.
The bullshit of streaming.
It's terrible. And it that book, Mood Machine, I can't remember the author. Chan was like, you got to read this. And so I was getting on a plane. Liz Pelly, Mood Machine. I was getting on a plane. I was like, got the book. I read half that book in one plane ride, and was just riveted because I hadn't been thinking systemically, which is really a shame. I have a background in sociology, and I was thinking I wasn't using my sociological imagination. And when I read that book, I was like, oh my goodness, this isn't every musician I know's problem. This is every musician's problem. And so, once tried to grapple with the scope of it, it was like, okay, here's what we can do. We can, put together some, a coalition of the willing, and just try some tangible physical releases to get people excited about their local music again, and then to grow it as big as it wants to grow, and keep that 50-50 after expenses indie model where our success is the artist's success, and our success gets plowed back into future releases, because we're so excited about so many of the things rattling around on our top secret locked servers, and grungy CDs and the bottom of the footwell of the car. true treasures. That it's the time is right, the message is right, and we're all real excited about it.
That's beautiful. Is there going to be the first official DJKTF tape out soon? You
It's
think?
possible. It's possible with the deft management of Mr. Goddamn Chan. It's entirely possible.
It'd be exciting.
Again, he's doing the hard part. It might have my name on it, but he and Jay, I've been making him go through my catalog and just be like, which ones, guys, which ones?
Yeah, how many beats you think
good?
you got held up? In the thousands?
I don't know. I don't even have a guess. Like I tried to put everything for them to listen to, and eventually Chan was like, "Look, you got to stop. This is too much for one tape. Just stop. You can do another tape." And I'm like, "All right,
That's true.
I'm gonna have the 40 cassette, 200 track beat compendium."
Yeah.
But and it's, part of it is just fun. Like I was going to stuff that I hadn't listened to in years, so it was cool.
You're digging all the way back in the vault.
Yeah. All sorts of different styles and everything.
What's the best way for people to support Filthy Records right now?
Best way for people to support Filthy Records is visit our website, filthyrecs.com, FILTHYRECS, and sign up for the mailing list. That's where we're going to keep everybody updated. We also have Instagram at filthyrecs, and then same spelling, and Blue Sky, filthyrecs.bsky.social. We got a Facebook, but nobody's on it.
True.
Yeah, but mailing list is the number one way, because that's where the message is going to really get out first. We get some special offer type of stuff planned. It's going to be fun. Well, we're so amped about this, it's ridiculous. And I tend towards jadedness, and so to actually feel that excitement, and then Wednesday or whatever, when we announced, we had 200 follows the next day.
Wow.
That blew my mind.
Yeah.
And it was just it was cool to see that kind of support, and know that the message that we believe in is resonating.
Yeah, people will always relate to that. There's a tangible need to be tied to your community, tied to the artists in your community, tied to their music in ways that aren't just listening to a song for 3 weeks and then having it get lost in a playlist somewhere after that. What was I talking about earlier? The connection between the digital and the analog is so it's not just I was mentioning it in context of limitations, but there's also a lot of connection that can be grown through these channels too. And I think that the digital side can kind of make people forget that. And hearing you bring up themes about unifying, through this is very refreshing, so to speak.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much I missed it till going to that Stereo Dreams night and just being like, oh yeah, and hearing other artists play, especially that open aux. It was, it was.
Shit's important, man.
Yeah, it was great.
We need avenues like that. It can't all just be online. Shit's got to be in person too. DJKTF, thank you for speaking on Filthy Records. That was one of the reasons I initially wanted to get you here. I had you on my list before that because I didn't really know much about you, and you seem kind of like an anomaly. So, is this your longest interview ever, actually?
It's maybe my only interview ever.
Look at that, see?
Oh, no, I was on community radio in New Hampshire with Manuel. I forgot.
Shout out that. Shout out WMPG, too. I got a radio show on there, so I'm big on community radio.
Yeah.
We don't have to speak on Mr. Blue and the Family Tree. We don't have to speak on the band you playing because you already brought those up. I will say, unless there's anything else you want to say about Filthy Recs, and I could be wrong, there's a question I could ask you before this to not potentially be foolish, but I'm going to ask this anyway without the preface. How many tries did it take to pass the bar exam?
Oh, one.
One? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever I do, I body.
The confidence is off the charts.
It's just I don't get to pick what I do.
You're channeling. Well, I kind of low-key think we're all just like antennas that pick up signals and shit when it comes to
Just
intuition.
riding the lightning.
Exactly. There's a lot of again, it's probably the David Lynch fandom, but there's electricity is everywhere, yo. Do you repair up old Jeeps still?
Only when they break now. I don't go looking for trouble.
What does that mean? Were you on a quest across America looking for Jeeps? You mentioned something that was on fire.
Yeah, they're beloved vehicles. I learned to drive stick on my grandfather's 1946 CJ2A.
Sounds like a World War II vehicle.
It was, they're repurposed World War II Jeeps.
Closer to that than it's not.
But yeah, I can't get enough of them. They're just, but for the, pollution and lack of a catalytic converter and a number of other pangs of conscience, they're amazing little vehicles.
Have you ever flipped a Jeep?
No, never flipped one.
But you did get gangrene on a bike once.
It was Enterobacter, Pseudomonas, something like that.
I keep saying gangrene, but
probably would have been gangrene if it was the 19th century.
Well, thank God for modern medicine. The cat is now associating with DJKTF, sniffing the left hand index finger, now the middle finger. DJKTF, can you work on Jeeps as you can, or as you could in the past, or are they kind of now susceptible to the whole like softwareization of most cars?
Oh, the modern Jeeps are all software.
It's all fun. You got to plug in a computer into cars now to work on them, man. I hate that shit. I don't hate it, but I mean, it's a very small thing. But I remember taking out like my old stock radio and my '98 RAV4 and putting in a Pioneer and feeling like it was like the coolest thing in the fucking world, man.
My first car, 1975 Chrysler Newport, called it the Green Giant, and crammed a bunch of JL audio and Clarion head unit with the 6 CD changer under the seat. King of the world. Used to get pulled over in Old Orchard all the time.
It's my hometown, man. I know that well.
Yep, all the time. Just always something. Always something. Except with the Green Giant, it always actually was something.
Did you have a sub in there?
Two JL Audio 12s.
Oh, 12, yeah. I had
12W0
112 in the RAV4, and it made the back door rattle. It's beautiful, man. And there was already I don't know what they did, but this is for all the car nerds. Someone had already drilled a hole in the firewall so I could run cords up to the battery. Easy money, man. So I had like a 3,000 watt amp that would like blow fuses sometimes.
Well, back before the digital high frequency switching power supplies that they got now, those amps would draw some serious power.
This is like in 2013, so I feel like that's right at the cusp where things really started to change.
Right, because now there are people 10,000, 24,000 watt amps.
In their whip?
Oh, yeah. You run 6 400 amp alternators or whatever.
Oh, it alternates the current.
They're just, the power supplies are just so efficient. It's, way less heat, way less wasted energy, way bigger output.
Too. I had to not drill it, but it was kind of like screwed into the ground because you didn't want that shit sliding around hard as fuck in the back of your car.
Right. Some of them had, really loud cooling fans because they'd kick on whenever you got the heat up too much.
I love them, man. I could talk about, I only did it for one car, and for maybe a summer and a half I had it before I lost my whip, but just putting in speakers and amps and tweeters and taking apart the door panel and having to reattach all the little like styrofoam trim that would get knocked off and just like all that, not styrofoam, kind of like felt, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, that weird sound damping stuff.
Yeah, it was just like there's just such lost art forms, I feel like, that cats these days don't really know about. Like, if you're probably like 15, 16, even upwards of like maybe in your early 20s listening to this, you'd be like, what do you mean? Like you could probably do that stuff now. And it's like, no, like, cars used to be more like Legos. Now they're really kind of just like,
MacBooks.
I don't even, it's like a computer thing.
Getting there. No, I did the math, and I had to do math. and got the largest sub I could for my Prius.
Nice. What?
Yeah.
How big is it?
It's a 12, but it's a special special design speaker paired with a specially designed amp by JL Audio, so it's super efficient. I forget off the top of my head what characteristic it was they changed. I can't remember if the voice coil is like super low resistance or what it is, but it's it's really cool sound. It hits really hard and loud for the limitations of the electrical system of the vehicle.
Yeah.
Satisfying.
Hybrid subwoofer.
Yep. Satisfy the conscience and the heart
And the ear.
and the ear.
Though
it's bass. If it was just the ear, stock system's fine, but if I want to feel it in my chest.
That's true. Yeah, you want to feel the reverberations. I do have a theory. I don't know if I've ever shared this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to share it, but no, I have to. Sometimes I wonder, maybe I'm projecting, but we love subwoofers and that heaviness on like the chest so much because maybe it reminds us of when we were really young. Like I'm talking like baby, like you can't even remember shit. And your parents put you on their chest and you'd hear their heartbeat and it'd like rattle off your chest. Because you know how so much of like adult cognitive stuff is often rooted in childhood psychology. Mm-hmm. I always wondered that. I'm like, I love just hearing boom, 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 boom. Like that sounds like a heartbeat. And I'm like, whose heartbeat would I probably love first? If you're lucky, you'd probably be a parent figure who was taking care of you. Well, we're going deep.
This is the thing is... I mean, we've known forever that those sounds are super comforting, just flat out. Like, I can remember, like, my parents had a tape of that for, like, my baby sister. Like, this was in the early 90s. And they'd put it on for her, and it'd just knock everyone out. Just...
That's so weird, man.
Yeah, and so, yeah, exploit that. There's a love of rhythm. Born with it.
It's ingrained in us. Speaking of ingrained,
it's a happy, healthy heart.
We're 90 minutes into this. This is one of the longest discussions I've had in a long time, and I really feel like we've been just drawn in circles in a very beautiful way.
Have we talked about any hip hop at all?
Yeah, we definitely have, man. The thing about Benny's Crib is not just about hip hop. It's about like life and philosophy, art, love, whatever it is. I will say though,
1999, 110 Cumberland Avenue. I was on the back porch. It was covered in AstroTurf, and that was the first time I heard Most Def Black on Both Sides.
Whoa,
that was amazing.
I have that up right there in my kitchen, the liner notes.
Just extraordinary because I love the music background, so the Soulquarians, like band stuff.
Yeah, I mean that
just
talk about Jay Dilla's influence too on like a lot of like music at that time.
Yeah,
Soulquarians is one of my favorites. I think my hip hop experience as a listener can be honestly defined pre-Yasin Bey's Mathematics, post-Mathematics. The first time I heard that song, I was like, okay, like there's a different type of knowledge that you can actually gain from the music that I just didn't understand. How we doing on time on the cameras, bro?
That one's...
R.I.P. on one of them. We've been talking so long.
It's fine.
It's good. No, it's beautiful.
I'm long-winded.
We're going to kind of wind down here. I have one question.
All right.
I saw an interview. You brought this up. I want to just make sure, this is very important. I want to make sure you're still adamant about this, or maybe you've changed. Would you still advocate Google Sheets as a useful tool for data integration and numerical analysis?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's so much chiller than Excel in that regard because it's already in the cloud.
It's free.
Although now Excel, Microsoft 365, they're throwing stuff in the cloud too. But yep, Google Sheets is still free.
I just saw an interview when you were talking about that. I think you were on your day job.
You gotta probably 1,000%. What was the? Yeah, but I'm down with Google Sheets. Yeah, I'm not down with Google so much.
DJKTF says Google Sheets fucks
over Excel.
Over Excel. Yeah, fuck Google though, allegedly.
Yeah, all of them, man.
Yeah,
all of them.
We're definitely not getting into that tangent because then we'll turn into like 90 minutes more of reflection.
Right. But let me get my tinfoil out.
I don't even need that. This country is run by evil oligarchs who want to run it to the ground so they can buy it up for pennies and make it into a private sector that's going to fuck over the average populace. And that's all I'm finna say because We got to be positive, but stay alert. Be alert. Solidarity. You're closer to being homeless than being a billionaire. Watch out for your neighbors. You ready for some rapid fire questions?
Okay, I'll do my best.
Favorite gear to make beats on?
Akai MPC Live 2.
What's a goal you still have as an artist?
Releasing something.
You haven't only been making beats for what, like 2 decades?
98, yeah, 99.
3 decades almost. No one knows anything. Cat was making beats when Zoots was still around. Place you want to travel?
Ooh, place I want to travel. Honestly, I mean,
Or you could even do like a time period too. Like it doesn't have to be a place.
no, time period 4 years from now.
Third favorite animal?
Third favorite animal? I don't go that far.
Okay. Least favorite color?
Least favorite color, the gray green of the corpse of a Caucasian person.
Wow.
That's a nasty
Did
color.
you find a dead body when you were young?
No, it's just
Okay.
a nasty color.
I felt like I pulled back something there.
Nope.
Favorite type of wood?
Oak, bro. Red oak specifically. I mean, I am from Maine. I guess you get issued a favorite type of wood at birth or something.
I like trees. I like wood.
Word.
What's an album you could repeat forever?
Oh man, urban flora, urban fauna. My memory's going now. I'm getting elderly.
It happens.
Yeah.
DJKTF is pulling out his phone to look.
Up the album. I apologize for the viewing.
Audio people, you can't see it. DJKTF has Kirkland branded Velcro?
Hell yeah. Yo,
Velcro slides.
Yeah.
The Kirkland.
Mm-hmm.
The Kirkland product really supports the human body beautifully.
Yeah, and they support the human race with a livable wage.
That's
DEI
important too.
policies.
Yes.
I rock Kirkland. But Urban Flora by Alina Baraz and Gali Matias. I never say it the same way twice because I only ever read it. I've never talked to anybody about those artists before, and they're not particularly unfamous. They're not particularly famous.
Alina is a B-A-R-A-Z?
B-A-R-A-Z.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah. I mean, dude is an excellent producer.
Is that Tidal? What do you want there?
No, my own server, homie.
Okay, we're talking off camera, but you got your own music server?
Yeah, which, I mean...
Oh, yeah, not... Yeah.
I gotta opt out, bro. I can't...
I think I was thinking of like streaming platform for something, but you got...
Oh, yeah, I could give you a login if you want. Oh, no, I can't. There's the filthy archives in here. Unreleased
if you can trust anybody with that. I'm definitely in a small handful of people. All the shit that Chance has sent me over the years. Anyway, what's a... Oh, yeah, who's a singer whose voice soothes you?
Donny Hathaway.
Shout out Donny Hathaway. Rest in peace to Donny Hathaway. Quick moment of silence for Donny Hathaway. Rest in peace. Final rapid fire question. What's a main food spot you want to shout out?
Man, they're always changing so fast. You know what? Taco Trio, I heard, is going back to their OG location on the Rotary. They got me through some hard times, taking some rugged exams. And so shout out to Taco Trio.
I love Taco Trio. Twigs and I used to get Taco Trio when we worked at Bull Moose.
Oh, no joke.
It's kind of near it, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Damn, my butt hurts. We've been sitting down for 100 minutes.
100 minutes.
Well, you survived the rapid fire. DJ KTF, this is a very memorable podcast. I hope at home you can sense there's a tangible feeling of camaraderie between us, because I'm kind of like antagonistic friendly, and you're kind of aloof friendly, if that's fair. And that's an interesting concoction when you record it for the first time on wax, but it's we've had fun. How do you feel? Have you enjoyed this? Have you not enjoyed it?
I've enjoyed it. I'm just anxious about the recorded product of it because I've enjoyed it. You know what I mean? like, I let myself be myself. This is danger now.
Hey, at the end of the day, if we got to put the kibosh on this and 86 it from the internet, I guess we could, but I think you should be proud of all you have said.
I mean, I'm old enough now that I really got nothing to prove.
83. Wait, Brody, you turning 50?
42. 40. I think 42.
Oh no, 83. Yeah. So I keep thinking it's like I'm already in like late 2020s mode, but I forget we're like kind of in the mid part of it still. So you just passed 40.
Yep. Yeah.
I just turned 30, so it'd be like
word.
that. Time's relative, man.
Well, I mean, I like to look. Mortality is a part of living, and statistically, I'm like halfway through my life, so it's a good point to stop and reflect.
Have you got a crisis yet? Is this the crisis right now on camera? Is this episode?
Because I always knew I was going to die. What's the crisis in that?
Mortality really is one of the few things that makes life exciting, isn't it?
I mean, Stereolab? Yeah. Captain Easy Chord. You ever heard that one?
No.
Life comes with a death, each death with new life. It's a good one.
It's important.
But it's so there's no crisis. Like I've done some really incredible things that I'm very proud of. Built some wonderful things I'm proud of. Good. And I can't remember what religion it is that had the sort of 4 stages of life. 0 to 25 is a student. 25 to 50 is the head of household. You're acquiring your wealth. You come up. You're getting yours. 50 to 75 as you begin separating yourself from the material world, and 75 and up, you just meditate on existence and you start unplugging from this plane,
the physicality.
And I was just like, I'm down for that. So I'm wrapping up I have an eye on wrapping up the householder phase. It's coming.
Wow. I was going to just start talking about collective consciousness, and you kind of beat me to it. Because we're just both the universe perceiving itself, but somehow having enough sensory awareness to be individual densities that can still articulate their own lived experiences.
Right.
It's kind of weird, isn't it?
It's just the kind of thing where you just have to roll with it.
Yeah, you can't really question. That's why I like
Can't
intuition.
give yourself a migraine over that.
You got to lean into the intuitive forces and don't let your thoughts of the mystery become too powerful. You got to accept and embrace the mystery. Are we 2 cameras down now? We got 1 camera left. This might be one of the longest we've gone.
Here we go. Here's the one camera.
Final questions.
1 camera story.
What's cooking? Is there anything you want to tease to the people? We talked about Filthy Records, so is that pretty much the big one?
Filthy Records, our first release, is gonna be bananas. Just bananas.
Stay tuned. Where can people stay updated or reach you if they want to be a part of this?
At filthyrecs.com, filthyrecs.com. Sign up for the mailing list there. That's the number 1 spot where all the juiciest bits are going to be.
Any shout-outs?
Oh, my goodness gracious. You know what? I'm going to just shout out Chan and Jay for going on this crazy journey with the record label. Shout out Manuel. Great group of dudes, super fun to play with. I'm excited for our some of our upcoming
That's the band
gigs this summer.
Do percussion in?
Yeah. Let me get Manny's handle. I think it's Manuel Guitarist on Instagram. But I just want to verify that because I don't want to shout out like the wrong.
While he's looking that up, I'm going to shout out Yardyting for sponsoring this podcast. Go get you some food at Yardyting. Support local business. Delicious. They're on the first floor of the Public Market House in... Oh, my brain's frozen, man. Monument Square.
I've been vegetarian for 20 years. And my wife loves Yardyting.
Yeah, they got coconut curry is one of the best vegetarian
dishes
in town.
Even I know. But it's not the coconut curry she's about. But no, she gave it high marks, and she's got a reliable culinary opinion.
It's number 1 for me, man. What's this
Manuel Guitarist at Manuel Manuel Guitarist.
Perfect. As we creep into an hour 45, I honestly think this is going to be a 45-minute podcast.
This is a feature-length podcast.
This is a goddamn movie.
7-part Ken Burns documentary, KTF, The Rambling.
My papa's been watching Ken Burns baseball. He's been talking to me about it every night on the phone last week. He's like 90-something. I told you this, collective consciousness. Anyway.
Mother, they've been podcasting for weeks. Hopefully the generals will let us go home soon.
I think we can go home. I think we just got to answer one more, man. Unless you got anything else you want to say in this enchanted journey.
No, I'll just interrupt you when I do.
We've been interjecting in each other's conversations this whole time. And that's the way it's got to be. DJKTF, thanks for showing up. Where will you be 1 year from now?
Where will I be 1 year from now? I will be in my same little old farmhouse with my garage full of Jeeps and disassembled lowriders and musical instruments, having a good old time.
Tremendous. Shout out DJKTF for coming through. Excited to see what Filthy Records is going to do on the first release. Shout out Willow Pix for dealing with this extended duration.
Oh my goodness.
And these cameras closing down on us.
I'm so sorry.
Professionalism at its finest. Again, shout out Yarditing for sponsoring this podcast. If you need anything, it's always RhymeBeat.com. And remember, really, the point of doing this is to shine a light on people out here who are doing things. Remember to look into your community. Take care of each other. Finesse the system with each other. Spend some bread at local shows if you can. And just continue to remember, like, we all in this class warfare together, man. We'll see you next time. Take care of each other. Fuck white supremacy. Peace.